others of what we believe. But we have to look after the seed that is going to grow. And that we don't have to lose time. We have now to focus on that. So I'm looking for an international educational system that is actually going with your both philosophy, where we are triggering what's inside, not indoctrinating and killing what's inside, flourishing what's going on, what's inside, and bringing the beauty of each person, uniqueness, to contribute to the society, because that kind of bringing inside without looking at the market demands and where is the job, because when a person just express oneself, authentic self, any person will be successful, any person will be creative, any person will contribute to the society because he will be himself. And then I'm working on that, because maybe I will explain this, but it's a good opportunity to talk to you. I'm doing that through my NGO, which I founded, which is called the Human Foundation. And this Human Foundation, we have a program for building a character, which is called Be Yourself. So we are training trainers to go to to schools, to orphanages, to women centers, in order to, to help the children to their own authentic selves. We're also training teachers to do this. Is the time? All right. All right. Thank you. And I have finished my.
Thank you so much. Young men want to say something.
Thank you.
Quickly.
Hi, good morning. My name's Lusakwas Charlie. I'm from Zambia, from the Ministry of Gender. And I think what the both of you have presented, it's a real issue in my country as well, where we're having issues with character building, with having a holistic approach towards education. I think our policies are more centered towards having an education as well, a means to getting a job, and not necessarily building characters. And it's brought in a lot of issues with regards towards the children that are graduating from these high schools and universities to some certain extent. I think what we really need to look at, and I'm happy this is being talked about in this forum, is having a situation where kids or students can express themselves and they don't have to look at success from an outward point of view. They always look at it from, well, I need to be successful, I need to get a job, I need money, I need fancy things in life. But what about the inward thing? What is it that you can add value towards changing or making a difference towards the next person? That's been lacking. And I think it's an issue within our educational system that we're looking at because of the issues that are being developed. To talk about the nutrition factor that was mentioned, because of the growing economies, the fast foods, it's all those things, character issues, all the bad vices that are coming through. It's because some of them don't have an outlet to vent out.
That's right.
Previously, and it's been well documented, there were structures within societies that would accord kids to express themselves, but they're slowly dying out. So in certain instances, we need to go back, and I think parents as well, we need to be involved as parents, if there are parents there, to help our education system, because it starts from the house, then it grows outward. So I think the holistic approach is a very
Way forward.
yeah, it's a way forward, and it's a key thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Just you reminded me of something brilliant I read recently, just from your comments about things coming from without or coming out from within, which was a really interesting study. I forget the name of the academic, but he's written a brilliant book, Anthony Dolan. Yes. Okay. And he talks about the difference between the experiential self and the evaluative self. The best way to explain it is in a kind of very simple story. So one of my friends works for an advertising company. And she said, you know, I have to get into work really early every day. They don't give us any lunch money. The people are really competitive. All the things I have to do during the day I don't really agree with. It's no fun, but it's a really good job. Yeah? And I think this is something we hear often from our friends, or actually maybe something that we say to ourselves when we've been in jobs that we don't enjoy. And what that illustrates is that there are kind of two components to the way that we evaluate life. There are things that we experience on a day-to-day basis, and there are things that we evaluate. And the evaluative self comes from what we think other people think, what other people value, how they look at us, exactly. The experiential self is what we actually feel. And what we have at the moment in society is people putting the evaluative way above the experiential. But the evaluative means absolutely nothing because we live the experiential. And when I read that, it was like, oh, yeah.
Awakening.
Yeah, okay, great.
I agree.
And so it's just about sharing these ideas and information. And when I say that to children, they just kind of look at me. And they don't normally say anything for a minute, and they're just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah. So I think that's what education can do and needs to do, is kind of take those nuggets and those useful phrases and those ideas and give them to children. Not teach them, but give them. And when we give them that information, they themselves, from the inside out, can make that change and make those clicks and those ahas. So yeah, thank you for that, reminding me.
In India, we spoke of Garab Sanskar also, that if a pregnant woman, she does meditation, chanting, she can put spiritual values in a child from the womb stage. And I think, and Dr. Emoto, a Japanese scientist, he's corroborated this because the body is 70% water and fetus is 90% water. So he did research on water, and he took, you've heard about the experiment, Dr. Emoto? So he took 2 jars of water, 1 jar he abused, 1 jar he gave mantras, prayers, positive affirmations. Crystals. The one which was abused produced deformed crystals, the one which was given mantras produced diamond-shaped crystals. Now fetus is 90% water. So if pregnant women do a lot of chanting, meditation, prayers, positive affirmations here, you know, they can put spiritual impressions in their children from the womb stage. And I feel this should be taught in all schools on the planet. Because, you know, once you're in the rat race plus you need to teach them values, it's too late. It has to be taught when they're growing up so that kids learn that values are more valuable than valuables.
May I add something to what you brought up about partly self-evaluation and for them to have a sense of who they are? What I do in my classes is have them write journals, free writing, on the topic of the week. So they do their free write, and then they have to, leave a line space and write self-evaluation, in which they actually reflect on their own growth during that week, and what worked for them and what didn't. Sometimes they write to me about what they ate for breakfast, and I have to remind them that's not what I'm asking. But really, what is it that you learned this week that really spoke to you? And I do this also in my online classes where I never see them, they never see me. Those that take this part really seriously, I've had a woman write to me, "You've enlightened me." And I'm like, I wasn't teaching that. It was just you thinking of that. And self-reflection is such an important part of that enlightenment process. But this is, if I could just do this the whole semester, I would love it. It's so important. So I just wanted to share that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'm coming back because there's something that you trigger with me, and that's when I talk about holistic education, you can also look at it a different way, because holistic education starts at birth. And it goes through the lifeline up to adulthood. And I don't think we should laugh about young people going for jobs. In the Middle East, when I worked there 10 years ago, the unemployment percentage was more than 40%. More than 40% of young people did not get into the labor market. And that was the desperation among the authorities. That was the desperation among the youth themselves. They saw no future because they went into a rigid education system. And as you probably find in Zambia, as you find in most African countries, is pretty what we call square. There's so much you know when you have the Cambridge system, by the way, which is the disaster in Africa. But what I think is we need to look at it as along the life cycle approach, so that the education is not something we start when children start in school or they start in kindergarten, but it's something that starts by educating or influencing families from the early stages. There are certain things that all children should know, whether they come from Norway or they come from Lebanon or they come from Zambia, from everywhere. And that, I think, is this values that we need to impart about, as you said, the positive, good. Everybody has a good side. And why don't we nurture that instead of having all these negative influences allowing to settle in? There's no reason, or there's our reason, I guess, to be concerned about the Middle East and the ISIS and all of that, all the conflicts between Palestine and Israel, for example, is because we have made it. That's right. We have made those conflicts. We are responsible for resolving those conflicts because it's the desperation among the young, exactly expressing themselves in war and terror and the rest of it. So I think that's taking that holistic approach, the whole person, at the same time following the person from the early beginning until they are well settled in adult life.
Just something came to my mind, what you spurred me on. You know, there is, I think Edmund Burke said, evil prospers when good people do nothing. But this one young man was telling me, I don't understand, why is it that, you know, people are not doing the good that they know and they're doing the bad, you know, etc. And I said exactly that. We have the good of, seed of goodness in us, but you know, the good people are not doing much about it to teach the child. What happens is that the vile online things, the vile television, everything around society that is really not of good value, it comes and invades the child. It's because good people are not doing enough to really nurture that seed of goodness in the child. So therefore, it's very true what Carrie said. It is us. We're responsible. And if the evil comes to the point that I couldn't understand how a fully educated person can go to Syria and kill, it's because we haven't done it. We haven't really educated. We haven't taken the time to educate the mind. We haven't loved that child.